As you can hear by the lovely mining of the SCVs, it's time for part 2 of Daily 703, where we learn to be a better gamer. Oh, the purple matches the purple in the outer space behind me. So beautiful and wonderful. C'est excellent. What we're going to look at right now is the idea of adjustment in action. We saw that baseline game, and rather than focus on one player in particular, I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between these in a more linear fashion. The key to look for here is when these players dip and do something different. And don't worry too much, because I'll just make a huge deal out of it when it happens. But we're going to see life on this map go for Roach Hydra. And we're going to see innovation on this map answer that with a beautiful marine tank response. Now, while these players are doing their sort of normal stuff, I want to talk about Roach Hydra on this map in general. There's huge wide open spaces on almost all the expansions. These two are the potential third bases for the Terran player, and I mean, look at them. Just look at them. Look, there's a big space here, and here, and here. It's incredibly easy to just assault this from all sides, no matter what. It's absolutely simple to surround. And it does not share a choke with the main base, so you can absolutely just waltz right in here. This third, same structure, wide open, wide open. This is a little bit more tucked back, but still kind of tricky. Even the fourth bases are pretty open. A little bit less so, but still makes sense to want to go for a Roach Hydra force, which would struggle in tight enclosed spaces. Super easy for Roach Hydra to work well here. And of course, keep in mind, when I'm using the language, works super well. If we have like a scale of 1 to 10, where 5 is like the absolute average that Roach Hydra will do on the most average map, really well means going up to like a 6 or a 7. Rarely do strategies do something like go from the worst strategy ever, a total 1, to a max out 10 or something like that. So, Ling Bane, Ling Muta is still completely fine, completely acceptable. But you always want to at least have a pretty good idea of why a certain style might work well or why it might not work well. For instance, on this map, how well would a heavily Ling-focused with Infestor play function? Stew on that. How would the defense work? How would the offense work? What would be times that you would get attacked before you have Infestors? What's the earliest you would get the Infestors? These are all the sorts of things that you'd want to ask. Can you hold off those attacks with Lings? If you can't hold them off with Lings in a fast layer tech, can you slow down the layer tech and get the hatch up? What are facets of the map that would allow you to do that? Well, Lings would be able to hit all around here. They'd be able to counterattack into there. They'd continue to be annoying around the fourth, but what about defending on our side? Blah, blah, blah. All I'm really doing is buying time, because everything that we're looking at here is the same. What do you know? It's a factory going into a reactor. There's no extra Vespine geyser. It's a command center. It's a 3cc play. We see Life doing the same thing. He's going for a hatch. He's going for a little bit of gas first. He's going for speed. Does leave the ever-juicy single drone in there, and he's starting to add some extras in. What might be a reason that a Zerg player would be leery of going for a fast third base? Well, same logic that we were talking about with Taran. Here's the choke to the main that has an entrance here and an entrance here. Well, this expansion would leave this choke totally open. And this expansion would leave these chokes totally open. So, very easy for Hellion run-bys to do a lot of damage. So we're seeing Life. He's doing the usual scouting with the Lings that we saw him do in the prior game, kind of checking on what's up. He's going to see those Hellions, tries to send a Ling up into the main base to scout. Overall, very nice maneuvering. But at this point in time, innovation hasn't really done any change. We're starting to see that Life is really the first one who's doing the big switch. We've talked a little bit about some logic behind the switch. Why would he be wanting to go for not a fast third base? Well, because he just doesn't want to die. He doesn't want to potentially lose to big blue flame Hellion stuff. Or even just regular old Hellion stuff. So here I think is a very interesting moment. This has the standard look of things, if you are in Innovation's shoes. You see these two Evo chambers down, but there's a key bit of information that should make you very suspicious if you're Terran. There's not an expansion here. Innovation is going to have to check pretty quickly to see if there's a third here, because the third should be just now finishing up. It shouldn't be getting started. It should be starting around 6 minutes in a normal play. Why is it at 7 minutes and there's no third? Moreover, it's 7 minutes and there's 2 evolution chambers down? Huh. This is the wondrous deductive logic that we gain from gas. There's only so much gas you can get. Once you have 12 dudes in gas, that's it. You have all the dudes you'll ever need in gas. You cannot increase your gas income beyond 12 dudes if you're on 2 bases. So if I see a player with 2 Evo chambers and no third, 2 Evo chambers is a bunch of gas to spend for 1-1 and 2-2. That's going to shoot that total sum down to very, very little. If you're trying to go mutas as Startail Life, you're going to have like 7 Mutalisks. And you're going to be able to add on like 3 or 4 a minute and do other things with gas. I mean, it's going to be super duper hard to do much of anything. So if I'm Innovation, I can conclude one of 2 things. You're either not going for Ling Muta, or you are going for Ling Muta, and it's going to be a really bad Ling Muta play. Innovation dipped here, and by the way, saw no creep. Pretty safe to conclude that there's no Expo stuff going on. Same opening from Innovation. Going into these 3 barracks. In a little bit, he'll be getting extra engineering base. Still focusing a little bit more on Innovation side of thing, but here is just a really strong confirmation that something is up. Something is going a little wrong. So, magical times are occurring now. This is where Innovation can begin to adjust his build order. And if you've watched my show at all, I've done a lot. I've done about 700 now. Adjust is probably, I think, my favorite word. Oh, adjust. I don't know, does chat think there's any other favorite words of mine? I love the word adjust. I like the word adjust because it resonates with the core of the RTS, which is that you don't want to be doing wildly different things. If you had a bad date, the solution is not to become a completely different person via plastic surgery and carefully changing to a completely different person. You don't want to. You maybe want to adjust. Maybe you want to shower before you go on the date. Just a little adjustment. A dicks apparently is another of my favorite word. According to Cerebral 09, aggressive. I do use aggressive. I think way too much. Way too much to destroy its to destroy its value. Macro hard, micro soft. The greatest slogan of any company in the After Hours Gaming League. Damn, that's good. I don't know. Probably donuts, dicks, and adjust are the 3 words most commonly spoken in the Day 9 Daily. So I went on this burble about the word adjust because in this moment, what I think a less experienced brain is going to do here is go, oh, okay, he's going probably for a big Roach play. So I'm going to try to think of, I don't know, maybe mass marauders are going to be good versus that. What else am I gonna have to get? Maybe some tanks in there, and there's just this like drastic, sharp turn in the other direction, much like Sovereign in Mass Effect 1. A turn that would shear any of our ships in half. Thanks, Joker. Let's take a look at what Innovation's doing in terms of adjustment. And it only makes sense to talk about adjustment when we compare it to the last game. So what do we see in the last game? In the last game, Innovation right around now is throwing down 2 engineering bays to get mega upgrades so he can get big packs of units that are very strong in the late game. But at this point in time, Innovation's starting to go, you know what, there's no third. There's no third here. I haven't seen any creep come up here. There's almost certainly no third there. And when I say almost certainly, I'm saying like 99.999%. If this didn't scout the creep, that would be the unluckiest stuff in the world. If I'm Innovation, I am claiming there's no third here. So Innovation's going, you know what? Rather than getting a little overeager, and doing anything too drastically different, just going to complete the wall off. So far, so good. Going to still be getting these barracks. Again, not getting the engineering base first. Just getting, make sure the barracks are pretty well along. Engineering base still coming down. Gentle pokings. Trying to do some scouting in there to see what's up. He sees a layer, not yet done. And then he sees the Roach Warren. Okay, perfect. Parfait. Another little adjustment. This orbital command didn't move out yet. One of the most subtle things that you'll see. Not something that he does, but something that he doesn't do. He doesn't move that command center down. Why is that? We weren't 100% sure that he was going for roaches. You don't want to conclude what he's doing, you want to conclude what he can't be doing. He can't be going for a big late game, so that remains a possibility for him to do some sort of big all-in to kill me. Well, I better keep this orbital command in the main base, so I'm protected against the big all-ins. Still, we see relatively similar setup. Factory going for the reactor. Barracks still coming up. Still lines up with these engineering bays. But in particular, we're seeing just a very careful rally to this bottom side. Nothing moving out too swiftly. Now, on the Startail Life side of things, we haven't spent a lot of time talking about it, but it's pretty simple to describe what's going on here. There's some notable timings on when he's getting the gas geysers that I'm completely going to circumvent, but I give you this. If you go for a very fast, or excuse me, if you go for a very slow third, you either have to have mega upgrades or something else to account for it, or like an attack. So often, players who go for these very delayed thirds will build up a big attack and just do a mega shove back. So we see Innovation doing some things that seem to disagree with each other. He floated the orbital command out while building a bunker here. This is one of these weird looking but brilliant moves. He's setting himself up for a third, but he's still going to defend the easiest place to defend. And just willingly sacrifice his economy a little bit. This allows these Hellions to do a little bit more crazy, risky things like this. Technically, this isn't risky anymore because of this glorious buildup. Another little tiny adjustment. Marauders getting built, not purely Marines. And we see one of the first significant switcheroos from Innovation. He's getting a tech lab on his factory. It's only till like 11 minutes does Innovation begin to reveal this pullback into tanks. Again, it's very easy to do a huge change to want to suddenly begin flooding tanks or flooding Marauders. Marine Medevac Mine, Marine Medevac Hellbat, perfectly acceptable against tiny numbers of roaches that then transition into a big ol' Spire play. So at this point in time, Innovation is not really going to be doing anything drastically deviant from his normal play. He's eventually getting this siege tank up. And we see perhaps the most unspoken of adjustments, the differences in unit movement. These Hellions are normally poised between. They're poised here to be getting in the way of the armies. But now we see them scouting for expansions over here, trying to keep the Zerg down to like 3 bases. We see this medevac drop up here, moving forward, with absolutely no other coordinated movement. These units stayed all the way back. Normally we see this move as a damage-focused move to help get these into position to attack. Now, this drop is just giving an opportunity to take an expansion. These drop attacks are way more powerful against a roaching player because he doesn't have Spire units. Remember how I talked about that, you know, right around 12 minutes is a normal time to get mutas, and damn, Life's a boss for having gotten them at 11 minutes in the previous game. Well, now we're seeing Innovation exploit the 12-minute mark in this game. Well, if 12 minutes is a normal time to get a Spire, and you are not doing a normal Ling Baneling Muta play, then damn, you're definitely going to have a late Spire. You might never have a Spire. So look at this caution. Look at that caution. More importantly, look at discomposition. There's not a terribly large amount of Marauders. There actually is not enough gas to get both the double upgrades and the non-stop factory production and a whole bunch of Marauders until well after 2-2's been started. The Marines will suffice just fine. Extremely cautious play by Innovation. And that's one of those very easy questions. Why is Innovation being so cautious? Because there's no fourth. Nothing here. Nothing down here. Nothing down here. 3 base Roach Hydra. So easy to take down. So freaking easy. And it's just maximum caution right now. Trying to pick up free units. Again, I want to go to the Innovation cam so we can really see how passive he's being, which is super duper uncommon. Excuse me, super duper uncommon for Terran player in this matchup to have this look of it. But it's super easy. No fourth, no fourth. Units frequently checking for the fourth. A little bit of harassment too. Also to note, look, another factory going down to add on more tanks. Remember how I said you don't quite have enough gas to get all those big numbers of Marauders? We're going to ignore this battle and note that very soon we can get 3-3, which are expensive upgrades. 250, 250. So then all of a sudden, when Life is maxed, he's almost committed to making a big attack right now. Roach Hydra does not have a good maxed versus maxed. What makes Roach Hydra very strong is that you can get maxed and hit a player who has like 130 supply, 120 supply, and just win with sheer numberage. Tanks provided all the vital support they needed. And now Innovation is going to begin to step into the realm of win. Very hard to quite have enough gas to get all those Marauders up. We also see some very carefully rallied structures, rallied right on top of this turret. We see while that whole attack was going on, Innovation is being very responsible about scouting all the possible 4th base locations, except for this one. And I think there's only one attack that Innovation does this whole game. Life is in just really, really awful shape. What he's hoping to do is to goober up some Marine Marauder at the front lines that are away from tanks and just gobble those up. Goober and gobble. That's what I'm talking about. Other cool unit movements, Marine Marauder moving freely, tanks staying almost always sieged. The only time that the tanks move is when they move together as a unit with this Bioforce. After the 3-3 has been researched, it's a little bit more understandable to begin to build Marauders. In large quantities, that is. peppering them in a little bit at a time out of this barracks. Sounds great. So freaking sexy. Obviously the counterattacks are another reason why people love to go for the Roach Hydra on this map, but just one attack. All it's really taken. Come back to the mega backed out cam. And of course, one of the last things that I love to talk about, if you have a nice slow army, as defined by the fact that siege tanks are pretty slow, expand along the direction of attack. Because right now these siege tanks that are in this offensive position are just by virtue of expanding along the attack, also in a defensive position. And that's only true if you have nice, slow, meaty, tanky units. If you try to do something like go regular, I mean, if you're going like Ling Baneling Mutalisk, Ling Baneling Mutalisk is trying to avoid engagements as long as possible. Tanks are inviting engagements in. Got him. Boom. Really nice little game. And I loved that the biggest, I guess I'd say deviations from what we saw Life having up originally, or excuse me, the biggest deviations that we saw from Innovation only really were starting to come true at like 14 minutes, really late into the game, when he started to get tanks 2 at a time. So it really goes to show that even though Roach Hydra is way different than Ling Baneling Mutalisk, there's not a tremendous necessity to do a big crazy change, turn on a dime. You can do a little adjustment and steer yourself. If we wind up drifting to this 17-minute mark and we take a look at Innovation's composition, it looks very, very anti-Roach. 5 siege tanks, 6 marauders, 30 marines, not a terribly large amount of medevacs, 6. However, it got there not by dedicating to that from the start, but by eventually reaching it. When we return in part 3, we're going to watch a very quick game, very sexy game from Life, where he identifies a simple little weakness from his enemy and exploits it. I want you to think about one quick thing in this match, or in these last 2 matches. Innovation has hidden his 3rd command center. That's all I'm going to say. He's hidden his 3rd command center. Keep that in mind as we go to part 3 right after this.